Attention, everybody. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado, here's the man with the plan who wants to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock, on the new gold standard. Take it away, Tony.
Thanks, Matt. That was an incredible introduction. I hope we can live up to it.
You're welcome.
How is everybody out there this morning? It's a glorious morning in southwest Missouri. The sun's out, the sky's blue. It's not raining right now like it was at 4 a.m. when I woke up, and it's good to be alive. And so I was thinking about today's show because so much has happened since last Wednesday. You know, if you follow the markets, you know that we've just had this incredible volatility in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P, anything equity related. And, of course, that has a ripple effect through a lot of the things that we talk about. So today's show can be very, very good for some folks. It may be boring for others, and I hope that's not the case. But, you know, one thing I wanted to kind of talk about early on, mainly because if I don't, I'll forget it if I get into my normal routine, is right now the yield on the U.S. 10-year Treasury is 0.694. And the reason why I'm starting with that is a lot of you in the viewing audience probably are savers and depend on the interest from your investments for income. You know, for years people did certificates of deposit and tax-free bonds and, you know, all these different vehicles that pay interest and stuff, and they could afford to make ends meet. And, you know, if the 10-year Treasury is 0.697, in other words, it's not even 1%. It's, you know, 31 basis points, give or take, from being 1% interest. And the reason why I start with that is so many companies, insurance companies, for example, use the 10-year Treasury as their barometer on what they can charge or pay, I should say, as far as interest on a lot of their products, annuities, cash value, all those different kinds of things that we've all come to rely on as far as some of our balance sheets and stuff. And so if you are one of those folks, I did want to share one piece of information that might be worth knowing. And that is that with insurance companies and annuities, there are certain annuities that it doesn't matter what the 10-year Treasury is paying. It doesn't matter what interest rates are. And you can still get an income that is guaranteed, that you can't outlive, and that is substantial. And the reason why these products are able to do that is in the insurance world, and a lot of people don't know about this, there is a thing that is called mortality credits. And mortality credits are, the simplest version is the older you are, the more mortality credits you get. Which means that if you had, let's say, $100,000, just to use a round figure, it could be 10,000, it could be 1,000, but let's just use 100,000 for example. Excuse me, and in today's markets, you now had that available to invest, and you were trying to find the best interest rate. My hunch is if the 10-year Treasury is 0.694, the companies are not going to be willing to pay that much more than that, if any. I mean, if anything, it's usually less than that. So all of a sudden, you know, you're looking at putting up $100,000 to invest. The income off it will be, you know, less than $1,000. I mean, at 699, we're looking at what, $690 for a year? I mean, that's ridiculous for 100,000. So the way this works with these mortality credits, the older you are, the more mortality credits you get. And these work in a product basically called a single premium immediate annuity. And what the name kind of spells it out. It's a single premium. In this example, it'd be 100,000. Single premium immediate means that immediately you will start receiving income. You know, in this case, let's say 30 days from now, you'll get your first check. And it is an annuity. And the reason why the insurance companies have these mortality credits is that it kind of balances their house. On the one side, they've got life insurance where they're trying to, you know, help people that may not live as long as they would like. And then on the other side of the house are the annuities, where you've got people that may live longer. And when you look at the different risks that we have as a society, there's interest rate risk, there's market risk, there's inflation risk. I mean, there's all kinds of risk, portfolio risk. And a lot of people don't realize what is the most dangerous type of risk. And in my opinion, the most dangerous type of risk is longevity risk. And what I mean by that is the risk of outliving your money. I mean, some of you out there hopefully, will agree there's nothing scarier than to think about, living so long that all of your resources are gone, and all you have to rely on is, let's say Social Security, if that. I mean, let's face it, those Social Security checks aren't that large. And unfortunately, in America, we've got a lot of folks that is their one source of income. Or worse, they don't even have that. Or whatever they have from Social Security is so small because of something that happened in their world, that they don't have much income at all and stuff. So with the mortality risk, what ends up happening is if you're 60 years old and you go in and you say, hey, I want one of these single premium immediate annuities that Tony talked about, you would get one amount of income. I don't have my computer on the illustration software. I can run you an illustration anytime you want, and you're always welcome to call me at 417-755-0700 or send me an email at tony@thegoldaffiliate.com. But what I'm trying to get to is that a 60-year-old, with everything being the same, will receive less cash flow than a 70-year-old. A 70-year-old will get more on a monthly basis. An 80-year-old will get even more. And a 90-year-old would get even more because A, they're older, B, they have more mortality credits because of their age, and C, the insurance company realizes that, and they price that into the distribution that you're quoted and or take. And I've got a number of people that over the years have been able to use a single premium immediate annuity for just this reason and, have a handsome cash flow from their portfolio. I mean, I don't think I would ever suggest somebody put 100% of their money in a SPIA, is the acronym. But I will tell you that, there is a portion of your portfolio that could definitely benefit from being in there. And then the other thing about these, just real quick before I move on, is, single premium immediate annuities over the years in some cases have gotten a bad rap. And what I mean by that is there's usually 5 to 6 settlement options depending on the company you're working with. And a settlement option is exactly how you receive this income. So, for example, the settlement option that will give you the largest amount of income is a life-only option. And what that means is they're only looking at your mortality. So, for example, let's say you're 65 years old, you got $100,000, you like this idea, you put $100,000 in a SPIA, you're getting whatever that cash flow would end up working out to be, and you're happy. And with a life-only option, which creates the most cash flow, you're on top of the world until, let's say, 3 months later, you step out in front of a bus, and then you're no longer with us. And with a life-only option, the insurance company keeps the rest of the money. And that's where this particular product has gotten such a bad rap, because unfortunately over the years, as with everything, somebody did that, didn't know the full set of features and benefits and ramifications on the fact that can happen. And then if they have loved ones, the loved ones are like going, well, where did Dad's money go? And so I very rarely use the life-only option. The only times I've used it is when someone's trying to get a lot of money out of their estate. So, for example, if you had a lot of money and we're trying to transfer it to the next generation, it would make sense then to possibly do a large SPIA. The money gets out of your estate, and then take the cash flow from the SPIA, and we could buy a life policy. And that way, when something does happen to you, the proceeds pass on to your loved ones tax-free. But that's getting into a whole other can of worms. Let me get back here to the settlement options. The other settlement options, there's usually a period certain, like 10 years period certain, which means that that money will be paid out over 10 years no matter what. And, you know, there's a way you can say life in period certain, to where, let's say at the end of the period certain, you've received all your principal and you're still around. Well, since it says life, they continue to pay you cash flow until the day you do die. And that's one of the beauties of knowing these settlement options and using them correctly, because these insurance companies, when you put this life only option on there, or excuse me, when you put life on there with the other alternatives, there's life with a period certain, there's life with an installment refund, there's life with a cash refund, there's there's several. I mean, there again, sometimes these companies have variations of these major settlement options and stuff. I personally usually like life with a cash refund, because what that'll do is that will pay the person who put it in there the monthly cash flow they've chosen until they pass away. And when they pass away, if there's any money left, that cash refund will be sitting there for the beneficiaries. The second favorite one I have is life with an installment refund. And same scenario as far as you're getting that great cash flow, but you know, when you pass, your beneficiaries can take the balance, if any, over usually like a 5-year period, but on an installment basis. And sometimes folks like to use that so that their loved ones don't, you know, get a lump sum and then spend it too fast or something, kind of controlling things from the grave, if you will, and stuff. But these options and these settlement options can give you not only a wonderful source of income, especially in a low interest environment like this, but it can also give you a little bit more control on the money and how it gets dispersed and to who and so forth and so on and stuff. And there again, we're getting probably way past what I wanted to cover with this. But I will tell you this, one of the neat things about the SPIA is if you are using non-qualified money, in other words, money that's been taxed, it's not in an IRA, you have a good portion of that cash flow that is not taxed. And mainly the reason is it's the return of your own principal. So the IRS is not going to tax that. And so it's kind of in fact, the official term is an exclusion ratio. And so, for example, let's go back to the $100,000 example. Let's say this guy's able to get, you know, I don't know, let's say just for example, $10,000 a year. Probably 9,950 of it would not be taxed. The little tiny small portion is all they'd have to report. And you get a 1099 from the company, so it's not like you have to guess at this or anything. You know exactly what's been excluded, and you know exactly what is taxable. Now, you can do these SPIAs, single premium immediate annuities, with IRAs. The balance there, or the difference there is since the money went into the IRA pre-tax, therefore everything that comes out of it's taxable. So you can still get a handsome cash flow. It's just that all of the cash flow is going to be taxable. And some people use these with their IRAs because A, it allows them to create an income they can't outlive. B, it takes care of any required minimum distributions once those are needed to be taken out, which now is age 72. And C, that basically it's a better cash flow than they're going to get at the bank or some of these other options we've talked about. So, excuse me, without spending the whole hour on talking about immediate annuities, I just wanted to share that with you if you're in that listening audience and you're sitting there knowing that your CD's coming up for renewal and the bank's paying, you know, 0.002, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to make ends meet this year because your Social Security is, X, and the point two is not going to do it. So once again, feel free to call me at 417-755-0700, and I'd be more than happy to, I can run you an illustration. I've got a program that allows me to search the entire insurance industry and find the best single premium immediate annuity from all the different companies that offer these products. And, there's actually one, now that I think about it, usually when you make this decision, you're locked in. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, that's what we're going to do, and it's not going to be changeable. I do have one company that after 3 years will allow you to take some or all of your money out of a SPIA. And it's a commuted value. So in other words, they factor in the return of principal and so forth, but still, that is a little bit of a safety net, I guess you'd call it, if all of a sudden something changed in your financial portfolio, and after 3 years that would be, a feature you'd want to take them up on. But anyway, give me a holler. Be happy to help. Let's get into the normal things that we kind of talk about, which the first one is usually the Stewardship Program. And let me see if I can find that real quick this morning. There we go. Okay, today must be day 3. Let's just see here real quick. Paneled house. No, that was the one we did last week. So today is day, or lesson 4, I should say. Okay, so this devotional is titled Resolving the Ownership Issue. As Christian business people, God calls us to view Him as the owner of everything. We are to be stewards of all that He entrusts to us. This is one of the hardest of all commandments to follow for the Christian business person, because if we work hard at business, we receive all the benefits of that work. It appears as though all that we have achieved was through our hand. Yet God says that it is by His hand that we are able to make wealth. He is the source of that ability. As soon as we become owners and not managers, we fall into trouble with God. Joseph understood that he was the steward of all the resources of Egypt. God promoted him to affect an entire region of the world. Joseph had more power, prestige, and wealth than any 30-year-old who ever lived before him. The temptation for him in this newfound role in life must have been great. Many a man has not been able to handle material success. Many of God's choicest servants began well in their calling and service to God, only to fail at the end. Consider Hezekiah, the great king who achieved many great things, but failed to acknowledge God's blessing at the end of his reign. His reign was cut short due to pride. Gideon's fate was similar. Success can lead to pride if we are not careful. Not every man can carry a full cup. Sudden elevation frequently leads to pride and a fall. The most exacting test of all to survive is prosperity. Oswald Chambers. Ask the Lord today if you are living as a steward or an owner. Put whatever skills and resources you possess on His altar. Then you can expect God to do great things through you. And that is a good one. That is one of those ones that probably the minute somebody gets out of college, they should, review once a year or once a month, or in some cases once a day, because, sometimes, when you start out on your career and you have some early success, I know there was days where I thought I was pretty neat, and then I found out you have to balance the highs with the lows, and come in with a more level lifestyle and stuff. But anyway, I like that one. That was number 4 out of 12. So we've got 8 more to go in this particular devotional and so forth. Today, let's do this. I just want to go over a few things real quick, just because, the basis of the show is alternative assets. So, for example, let's look at the Dow futures this morning. They were negative 633 by the time the market opened. When the market opened, it was down significantly. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 3.43%, which is 857 points. And the S&P 500 is down 2.92%. NASDAQ is down 2.4%. So, I mean, we got another one of those days where we've got a lot of volatility. Swings like that are in the old days were not common. You know, swings of, you know, more than say 1% would be news. Now it's just crazy. I mean, Monday, if you were tracking the market, you know, the Dow was down over 2,000 points, which was over 7% in one day. And at this point, we're down about 20% from the market high, which was like 29,583 or something like that. The FTSE is down. That is the foreign exchange. DAX, that's up. CAC's up. Those are all European exchanges. In Asia, the Nikkei is down 2.27. Shanghai is down 0.94. And the Hang Seng is down 0.63. There's just a lot of red on all this. Now, here's the reason I'm doing this. I wanted to get to this one because we've been monitoring this one the whole time we've had this show on. Oil is $33.63 a barrel.
Nice.
You know, that is easily $20 less a barrel than it was last week. I know, well, maybe 2 weeks ago, but I know that while we've been doing the show, oil's been somewhere bouncing between 50 and 60, and then it slipped below 50 when the coronavirus first was discovered, and now today it's at $33.63 a barrel, which just basically tells you that there's a much greater supply than there is a demand, and some of that is thought to be, you know, as these different entities are canceling conferences and people no longer want to, you know, jump on an airplane where someone may cough or sneeze.
I coughed on the back of my hand, not my elbow. Sorry about that.
Actually,
I haven't drank any Coronas today, so.
There you go. It's early.
In all seriousness, though, we did have a serious conversation before your show about it. Remember,
Yeah,
on our show.
That's true. That's true. But you know, I mean, there's just a lot of folks out there that don't want to really consume much oil because they ain't going nowhere. The Brent is down 2%. Brent oil, natural gas is up. Let's see here. Gold is at $1,658 an ounce. Silver is at $16.93 an ounce. Copper is $2.51. And then, as I said, the 10-year Treasury is 0.702 right now. Now, here's something that, you know, we've just barely touched on, but when you look at the Bund yield, that is the yield in Germany for their 10-year bond, it is negative 0.758. So, in other words, what that's saying is that you could put, let's say, $10,000 into that bond, and in 10 years, you would not pull out $10,000 plus interest. You would pull out $9,000 and however much that works out to be. But my point is with negative interest rates, guess what happens? You pull out less than you put in. The Japanese 10-year yield is negative 0.074. So not quite as drastic as Germany's, but still a negative interest rate. And there's people that think that we may be headed for a negative interest rate. You know, last week, Jay Powell made that emergency announcement and took off 50 basis points. And then there's some things on the different currencies and so forth. So anyway, let me do one more thing here real quick. We're kind of getting into prices. Let's do prices real quick, and then we'll break for a word from our sponsor. Right now, gold is $16.59.70 an ounce. Remember, these are all the precious metals, so these will be by ounces. Silver is $16.99. Platinum is $880 an ounce. Palladium is $24.10. And rhodium is $13,000 an ounce. Your base metals, copper is $2.50 a pound. Nickel is $5.66. Aluminum is 75 cents. Zinc is 89 cents. Lead is 83 cents. And uranium is $24.40. And as we've already said, crude is 33.63 per barrel. And the Dow Jones is down 765 points to rest at 24,252. So just a lot of volatility, a lot of unknown uncertainty out there because of this virus. And I am going to turn this over to Mr. Matt for a word from our sponsor.
Well, thank you very much there, Tony. I need to find my face here, and here we are. Boom. Hey, everybody. Matt here from the Morning Drive, and also sitting here at the producer's desk. So today's show, well, it's brought to you by you. That's what we're hoping anyways. So it takes money to do what we do. And if you like this program and the other programs that we have available, there is now an easy way to go online, axmediagroup.com, and be able to donate to help us out. We take PayPal, credit cards, and it's all safe, secure. There's no donation too small and no donation too big, and it all goes right into this ministry, into this media group, and to improve and expand and grow our operations. But we need your help. So if you'd like to become partners with us and do a monthly donation, you can set that up there as well on PayPal, where it just comes out automatically. You don't even have to think about it. Just mark it down in your book. So, and it would really, really help us out. Another way that you can help us out is by sharing these videos, liking and sharing them, going to our YouTube channel and liking, subscribing, and setting up the notifications on that. Because we have around 12 shows right now, and we want to grow that. We want to have at least 12 hours worth of broadcasting each day. The ultimate goal is to be running this network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we can't do that without your help. So go online to axmediagroup.com. It's very easy. Can't miss it. The donation button is right there on the right of the bottom of the page, and it says donate, PayPal. You can't miss it. So please go online, axmediagroup.com, and I believe you can still do the hang on, let me find the banner that I had made for this. axmediagroup.com/please-donate. It's right there on the bottom of the screen. So if you haven't done it yet, please do so. And God bless you. Back to you, Tony.
Thank you, Matt. We are looking at a lot of crazy things going on in the economy and the world economy, global economy.
Sorry.
We are dealing with some things like for the first time ever. I mean, Monday's 2,000-point decrease in the Dow was the largest point decrease ever. And here we are, the year 2020. And there's a lot of folks out there looking at similarities between 2020 and 1920. And then we all know what happened by about 1930. And so, I've got several authors I really like. Some are on the one side, the polar extreme over here, where everything is rosy and the sky's the limit. The glass is half full. And then I've got some other folks over here that balance those folks out because, the world is ending, the sky is falling, and, it's best to probably, live in a hole or something. But I love Egon von Greyerz. He's a gentleman from Switzerland and stuff, and his most recent article that came out March 5th is titled, "This is it, the party's over." The party's over. The world is now facing the gravest economic and social downturn in modern times. We are now entering a period of global crisis that will change the world for a very long time to come. This should come as no surprise to the people who have studied history and also read my articles for the last few years. Many others have also warned about the same thing, but since MSM never talks about the excesses in the world or the risks, 99.9% of the people are totally unprepared for what is coming next. The 4,000-point fall in the Dow is a mere beginning. The 14% fall in the Dow last week, and similar in many markets around the world, is the mere beginning. I warned investors about the stock collapse in recent weeks. In my article on January 26th, I wrote, "Stock collapse and gold surge imminent." And again on February 9th, I said the crisis will propel gold and sink stocks. We have last week seen the beginning of the stock collapse with a 4,000-point fall in the Dow. The gold surge is still to come. We are likely to see further strong falls in stocks very soon. Fundamentally, it has been clear for quite some time that stocks in the world economy are at the end of the secular bull market. The falls in the last week have confirmed that the party is over and that we are now starting a secular bear market that will affect the world for years and maybe decades. And there's a lot more to that article that I'm not going to bore you with as I read, but I will tell you that I did post that article on my Gold Affiliate Facebook page yesterday. So you can go to the Gold Affiliate on Facebook, and I think it's one of the top 2 or 3 posts from yesterday, and read the entire article and stuff. And, I guess the reason I wanted to kind of go through that is, depending on who you're following or reading or listening to on the TV or whatever, one of the neat things about following a ministry is that you have faith that there is a God. And, each person has their own way of demonstrating that faith. So, I've got to think that God's not going to give us something we cannot handle. It may be tougher than it has been, but I also think that sometimes times like these create incredible opportunities. And I don't know if that means, it's a company like Zoom who, has a wonderful software program where you can do meetings online and not have to leave the safety of your own home, or if it's gold and silver. I really think that gold and silver is something you should have in your portfolio, because let's face it, what if in a week or two this gets so interesting that the U.S. dollar is no longer worth anything, and you need to go out and buy some toilet paper, which I guess is in short supply now. My wife was online last night. She read some article where people are running around buying toilet paper like it's going out of style.
I think that was just a temporary thing. We had a friend of our show's posted that he went and bought toilet paper yesterday, and there was plenty there.
You got to think there's plenty someplace, but still, that's just an
Life without toilet paper would be crappy, though.
That is true. But don't drink poo water.
Don't drink poo water, because you get the bubonic plague.
Anyway, that's from the prior show, by the way. I got here early, so I was listening as they were wrapping it up. But the point I was getting ready to make is that, I would keep my eyes and ears open for opportunities. And, it may be the precious metals. It may be some of the base metals. We just don't really know. But I will tell you that for 5,000 years, gold has been a form of currency that people have used to exchange for goods and services. And so that is my little bit there. As far as, I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't, get too far off on the side of the fence where people think the world is ending. But I will tell you that there's been a lot of change just in the last 6 weeks because of the coronavirus. Here's a perfect example. Harvard, 2 days ago, I read, has closed their campus. They've forced all the kids to go home, and they're going to do the rest of their school year online, remotely. And when I read that, our second youngest son goes to the University of Tulsa. I told Lorna Monday night, I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that happen at Tulsa. And I kid you not, last night we got a desperate text message from Asa, and he followed with an email with a letter from the administration over there that they are asking all the kids to leave the campus now for spring break and not to come back until April 5th. And there's a chance that they may follow the lead that Harvard has set, which is decide to just do the rest of the school year remotely. And so, that's kind of the extremes that we're seeing from people as far as this goes. A lot of different conferences have been canceled. A lot of sporting events have been canceled. And I just think that at some point, if enough stuff gets canceled, the revenue from those items that most of these universities and companies and individuals count on, because that's their business, will start to filter through to where you've got, more unemployment. You've got just all the negative stuff that comes from people not being able to pay their bills. So anyway, that's a lot of info for one little commentary and stuff. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, now the Dow's down 944. You know, this gets back to some of the things that I've been talking about for the last year, which is, you know, let's make volatility our friend. Use a dollar cost averaging approach to adding assets to your portfolio. In some cases, maybe you use a dollar cost averaging approach to removing assets from your portfolio. I mean, you know, a lot of what's happening is fear and greed. Right now, there's a lot of fear out there. And, you know, at some point, every investor has that gut check, you know, where they've got 1,000 shares of Walmart, or they've got, you know, 1,500 shares of O'Reilly's, or, you know, whatever stock or combination of stocks it is. And they look at the paper and they see what the price is and they figure out what their value is. And they've got that gut check, which is, do I really want to see this go any lower? Or do I want to buy more? Or do I just want to get the heck out and not have to lose sleep anymore? And so that's why you see a lot of folks, as we get down towards the bottom, start to sell, because mentally they just can't handle it. And that's okay. I mean, that's human emotion. And that's why I've talked about this dollar cost averaging strategy so much, is it takes emotion out of the equation. You know, think about it. If you're a employee with a company that has a 401k, this payroll's contribution is coming in, and boy howdy, it's buying a lot more shares than it did last payroll, because your 401k has probably got stock options in there, you know, or I shouldn't say stock options, I should say different fund selections that are based on the market, and those shares for those funds are down considerably from where they were just a couple weeks ago. So look on the bright side. I mean, you're buying a heck of a lot more shares right now because of this activity, and in the long run, that could be a huge benefit. You know, once again, just ways to kind of not lose your cool and try and take advantage of what's going on out there. I know that I'm getting calls daily from clients asking me what to do and how to do it, and you know, each case is different. You know, it's a case-by-case scenario, because, you know, we're all different ages. I mean, you know, I'm 62 now. I was talking to a client yesterday that's 91. And what's right for him is different than what's right for me for the most part. You know, I've got another client that I talked to on Monday who's like 45. And, you know, he's got kids getting ready to go to college and stuff. I mean, you know, it's kind of interesting how these different things affect you in different ways and so forth. Matt, I don't know what you guys talked about your entire show before, but was it all about the coronavirus?
It was all about truth in the coronavirus, and then we were going to talk about spiritual oppression. We never really got around to that. Did we get around to that? Yeah. We also talked about how the government should have been saying the stuff they're saying now weeks and weeks ago. So.
Well, you know, I'm not going to make an excuse for the government, but I will tell you that I think that the government sometimes, there's not a lot of interagency communication.
They think they know what's best for the people.
Some do, you know, some just don't know, you know, what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's.
I think that's all plausible deniability. They knew, they could have informed us.
Well, I think
they were positioning themselves to benefit the most from it.
We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah. Well, and I
far
also
as-
think as long as we've got this line of conversation going, I will
Unless
just
we
throw
get
out.
Jay up here on the screen with you, so that way they can hear what he's saying.
Well, I think that you know, you also have to remember that the source of a lot of this information, at least early on, was coming from China, and I don't know if China maybe was as forthright as we'd like to think. You know, as far as the
Journalists were there and knew almost right away and were reporting it. That's all plausible deniability. It's all people say.
those are the journalists that didn't get put in prison, right?
The ones who actually, even some who left the country, they knew
Well, I will tell you that there's some countries like Italy that are completely on lockdown right now. In fact, that's what happened in Tulsa, was that one of the students had a family member that came back from Italy and obviously needed to be quarantined, and they live in Tulsa County, and obviously this family member is a student at University of Tulsa. So that's had an effect on them. And I'm hoping, obviously, that being in Missouri, we're a little bit more isolated. But I do know that, even my dad, that you guys have heard me talk about a couple times. I was telling Matt as we were starting the show up, Dad's over at the Missouri Veterans Home in Mount Vernon. We got a call Sunday morning that they're no longer allowing visitors, which, is neat because that'll keep the veterans safe. But on the other hand, it's not so neat because my dad's 89 and I'm not going to get to see him for a while. So I called Monday and talked to one of the social workers there, and they said they're trying to get some iPads so they can allow the seniors to do FaceTime. And I think that's what the kids call it, where you can see their face and talk to them, and they can see your face and all this kind of stuff. So that should be a real interesting experience, considering my dad's 89 and has arthritis in his hands. And, I don't know if they're going to hold the iPad for him or if they're going to let him hold the iPad himself. But I'm sure either way, it should be quite an experience. And hopefully they get those sooner as compared to later, because, I have kind of grown accustomed to seeing him like at least every other day, sometimes daily, depending on what's going on over there and what tests he needs done and this and that and stuff like that. But I'm sure that they'll do the best for what's in the best interest for the veterans and stuff. And, I guess what I would do is just real quick, I know that I mentioned this last week, I sent away through Mint Builder, the most recent addition to the different gold companies that I follow, and they have a way of getting a free gram of silver, and I'll hold that up if you're able to see that. That is a gram of silver, which is not as expensive as a gram of gold. So a gram of silver is probably worth about 55 cents. Whereas a gram of gold is probably worth about $55. And speaking of a gram of gold, I've got that one with me also. Actually, I did get a new coin the other day. I should have thrown that in the briefcase, but the grams of gold, you can get them on this credit card format where you can carry them with you.
How much does a gram of gold go for now?
Oh, I would say somewhere between 55 to 60 bucks. Let's see here real quick if I can make my phone work fast enough. The reason why I say that is that it would be handy to have a gram of gold in case you did have to go out and try and buy some merchandise. You wouldn't want to have an ounce of gold, because
nobody can give you change.
Nobody can give you change. So a gram of gold today is $53.25 as far as the spot price. And because I'm getting this one from the Perth Mint over in Australia, it's probably closer to 60 bucks because of the markup involved. And as far as silver, silver's a gram is right where I said, 55 cents. So, it makes sense, I think, to add the gold and the silver, and maybe in the smaller quantities, so that you can actually have some with you. I mean, I can think of nothing worse than to be on some road trip to St. Louis, for example, and then all of a sudden, one of these things happens where your credit card doesn't work or whatever, and everybody's panicking like they seem to be doing, and you need to get home to Springfield. It might be neat to have a gram or two with you just in case. And I'm talking about gold or silver. I'm not talking about grams of anything else, in case you're wondering. I know there's some people that heard that and probably thought, what is he talking about? Have a few grams with you.
Can't sleep. It's always good to have a couple grams with you.
What is that Tony guy talking about? So, anyway, what are your guys' plans for spring break?
Uh,
Same as the plans for any other time.
yeah, work. I'm gonna have my son for a few days. We might go camping.
There's a chance of rain that day, so we'll get the tarp, string it up.
Yeah, we might go camping. We're gonna go camping in the rain. And believe it or not, Jay's pretty good at starting fires in the rain.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The last time we went camping,
Yeah.
he sat there. It took him a good couple hours, but got a roaring fire going.
Well, that's pretty
We
good.
had to set up our. Yeah, we set up all of our camp, and then I said, look at the. Let me back this out so people can see who's talking. I said, look at this fence. It looks like there's grass like just draped over all the fence. But it looks like this place was flooded. And then the campground came down. It was Hootentown, and they said you're gonna have to move your camping stuff because right now because it rained further upriver, and they said this is gonna be underwater here shortly.
Oh, my goodness.
So we had just set up the tents and everything. Then we had to tear everything down and move it all the way across the campground to right by the office. And by the time we were done setting that up, and the tents and the canopies and stuff, I mean, it was a roaring, raging river of death. You know, and where we were at, yeah, where we were at was probably at least 5 feet underwater, 4 or 5 feet underwater.
It was God doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself.
Yeah. We baptized some folks out there.
Oh, I bet.
It was pretty tough. We wanted to make sure none of us got drug away by the river current. But we had fun.
Well, Mother Nature is always kind of a fickle thing to deal with, especially if you're in new territory and stuff. You know what? That's all we've got this week. I mean, there's just so much going on with the.
So Sue Lee says, your advice is to stand steady? ? That was from earlier.
Huh?
Sorry.
I think I'm going to go into work today and put the maximum amount I can in the stock market.
Well, as far as standing steady, I think that, it goes back to it's a case-by-case scenario. Whatever your situation is, I mean, if you're in good order, then yeah, stay steady. If you're not in good order, then you probably need to do a few things. And so without knowing the intimate details of your situation, that's the best I can do and stuff. If you ever want to talk about, like, should I do this? Should I do that? And so forth. As I've said before, feel free to call me at 417-755-0700 or shoot me an email, tony@thegoldaffiliate.com. I usually answer my emails within a day, so I'll get back to you and so forth. But, we've got a lot of people that are looking at annuities these days because of the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the show. The annuities provide some income opportunities that your normal CDs, money markets, bonds, tax-free bonds are not offering these days. They're not even competitive.
James Bonds.
Well, I mean, it's there's a lot of Americans that depend on that monthly income from their bonds or their fixed income investments. And with interest rates now where they are, and the speculation is the Fed's actually going to drop rates another couple basis points here pretty quick. That all ripples through the economy to basically create less income for you if you're a saver. I mean, it's great if you're wanting to refinance your mortgage or one of those types of things, but it's not so great if you're clipping coupons or, gathering interest payments from your investments to live on. And that's why this show started with me talking about the mortality credits and the benefit of the older you are, the more mortality credits you get, the more income you're going to get off a single premium immediate annuity. I mean, there's a lot of folks that what I like to do is, as far as setting up a portfolio is, they retire, let's say they're 65. Okay, how much do you need to pay your bills? What is your monthly budget? And from there, we back it down to what needs to go into a single premium immediate annuity to create that cash flow to pay that amount of monthly bills. That way they can, use their early years of retirement. We call those the go-go years. You've got your go-go years, your slow-go years, and your no-go years. And so, when someone's in those first 5 years of retirement, they're wanting to go. And they don't want to sit there and have to worry if they're going to be able to pay their bills, pay their light bill and stuff. So it's a great way to set it up to where they've got a cash flow. Maybe there's a pension involved, so you can, supplement the pension, that kind of stuff. And then the balance that's left over can be invested in some things that are maybe just a little bit more aggressive. The stocks and the mutual funds and things like that. Whoever you are, I think you need to have 10 to 15% in gold and silver, so that the gold and silver will provide a balance for your portfolio. Let's go back to '08, which was the last time we had a big correction in the market. That year, the S&P 500 was down something like 38%. And in the same 12-month time frame, gold was up 5.4. So, it's a nice way to complement your portfolio. Anyway, I've exhausted myself with ideas. Hopefully some of that's been useful. If we can help with anything, give us a shout. Matt, I'm going to turn it to you. Thank you so much for watching, and be safe and enjoy your spring break.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Everybody, remember to please go online to axmediagroup.com and click that donate button and help us out. We will see you all tomorrow.
In the morning.